Part 82. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 811. Chapter 811. Is there any more natural justice? Xiaoling obediently went to Li Lei's residence. The spacious apartment was filled with all kinds of things, including unnamed satin, deep-sea pearls, chess pieces made of black jade and suet fat white jade, as well as toy guns, toy cars, candies, etc. Xiaoling didn't react. What are you doing? Li Lei said, look at what else is missing. When I go to your house for the first time, I always prepare something for my parents, my mother, and my brother. Do you think these things are suitable? Xiaoling was completely confused. How did she know if it was suitable? I also thought about preparing something for them, and I called my brother to ask, but my brother refused to tell me what my parents liked, and told me that I didn't need to prepare anything and just go back, she said. Said very honestly. Li Lei was also confused. So you are going back empty-handed? Xiaoling said, how can we? I wrote a song specifically for them, praising the great father's love and mother's love. Li Lei. Xiaoling walked around among the piles of gifts in the room, marveling at them: pearls, agate, mutton fat white jade. It's expensive, but how do you know whether they like it or not? Classmate Li Xiaoli, I was very proud. Isn't this easy? I had long expected that such a day would come, so I just talked to Xiao Hui when I had nothing to do, and found out everything about what my parents, my mother, and my brother like. He didn't prepare the gift blindly. My brother likes to drink tea, so he prepared the finest Lushan white tea, which is picked from the only remaining female tree in the world and only produces 3 tails a year. I heard that my father likes to play chess, so I prepared a chessboard made of 1,000-year-old agar wood. The black pieces are made of black jade and the white pieces are made of suet fat white jade. The carving is excellent and it is a unique work of art by famous craftsmen. I also heard that my mother likes to go shopping and buy clothes, so I prepared satin woven by the Nordic ethnic minorities. This kind of satin is very rare, extremely gorgeous, warm in winter and cool in summer, and the craft is about to be lost. There are also toy guns and cars for Xiaowai, pearl bracelets for other members of the clan, candies for the children, etc. Every aspect is thought through. Xiaoling was stunned. Xiao Hui has been gone for so long. How long ago did you start thinking about this matter? Classmate Li Xiaoli, I smiled. It will be used sooner or later, right? Xiaoling was silent, and she was moved again. It meant that he had thought carefully and planned things that he had never considered at all. She ignored his use of my father and my mother to take advantage, and said, since it was Xiao Hui who said it, it must be right. My understanding of them is not as clear as Xiao Hui's. Li Lei nodded, I think so. Xiaoling glared at him. Isn't this guy really someone who doesn't even know what to say? She deliberately quarreled with him. What should I do if Xiao Hui's information is wrong? Li Lei smiled so brightly that he showed his white teeth. Then when this kid comes back, I'll give him a good beating. Xiaoling, you are not allowed to hit my son. Li Lei, your son is going to rebel. The two of them quarreled over something that hadn't happened yet. Xiaoling picked up a pillow from the sofa and threw it at Li Lei. Li Lei smiled and raised his hand to block it, causing feathers to fly all over the living room. On the carpet in the corner of the living room, the furry leopard Mao yawned boredly, licked his front paws, then changed his position and continued sleeping. What a bunch of stupid humans. Everything is ready. Everyone sets off to Xia's house. The Xia family is located in a deep mountain, a place that cannot be found on the map. According to the map given by Xia Moyan, they first took a plane and then transferred to a car. In the end, the mountain road could not even be driven by a car, so they had to get down and walk. Li Lei told Xiaoling, be careful, the mountain road is difficult. Xiaoling nodded, I'm fine. Behind them, the tall bodyguard Arnold carried his luggage and said loudly, young master, Don't worry, you are leading the way in front, I am behind, and Monsieur is safe walking in the middle. As soon as he finished speaking, Aunt Liu's voice rang out, it's only a few steps on the mountain road, how can it be so delicate? She and her father also came and had to fight for 30,000 yuan. At first she was still full of longing, thinking that Xiaoling had recognized an extraordinary family as a relative. However, as soon as she walked into the mountains, her heart dropped. How could there be any rich people in this remote country with no roads? To say that this girl has really bad taste, how can she even be recognized by poor relatives? Aunt Lu was dissatisfied and shouted, if you can't walk on the mountain road and go back, why do you have to go through the hardship? By the way, remember to give me 30,000 yuan when you go back. Xiaoling stopped, turned around, and looked at them with a sneer, whoever wants to go back can go back by himself. If you don't have 30,000 yuan, you have to pay for the return trip yourself. Hey, I said you stinky girl. You. Aunt Lu wanted to say something else, but Xiaoling had already turned around and continued walking forward. Li Lei couldn't help but have a smile on his lips. He walked 2 steps behind Xiaoling and lowered his voice, why didn't you get a good pregnancy when you reached nirvana? It will be hard for you to fall into this kind of family. Xiaoling glared at him and pinched his arm with her fingers, you seem to be gloating about your misfortune. Li Lei was in pain and did not dare to talk nonsense anymore. He begged for mercy and continued to lead the way. The mountain road had 9 twists and turns. They walked for a long time without reaching the end. Seeing the sky getting darker, Arnold said, Master, something is wrong. We seem to be spinning in circles. Li Lei stopped and said, give me the map. Annoy gave him the map. Li Lei looked at it and frowned, there is something wrong. According to the distance we walked, we should have left this mountainous area long ago. Isn't it because you encountered a ghost and hit the wall? Arnold said. What the are you trying to do? Aunt Lu was so frightened that she grabbed Father Yes' arm, what the is this place? Let's leave quickly and never come back again. Then you have to go out, Xiaoling sneered. You stinky girl, Aunt Lu was about to scold her again. Li Lei glanced at Aunt Lu coldly, if you keep making noise, I'll leave you here alone. He grew up in an environment, and had been on the battlefield and lost his life. At this moment, he looked across at her with a murderous look, and was frightened. Aunt Lu suddenly lost her voice. Li Lei then continued to look at the map, then compared the direction of the mountains, and said, this is probably a formation. The Xia family has lived here in seclusion for generations. The base camp is not that easy to enter. Xiaoling made sense after thinking about it, but she was very angry. I'm going to call my brother and ask him why he trapped us here, and ask him to let us in quickly. Li Lei stopped her, I guess this is a test that my brother has given us. Even if you call him now, he won't let us in. We have to find our own way. Is there any more justice left? Xiaoling refused to listen and found her cell phone to call her brother. I caught a cold yesterday and had a bit of a fever. I took medicine and planned to update after taking a rest. But I lay in bed with the light on and fell asleep without eating dinner. I woke up at noon and quickly wrote an update. But I'm still catching a cold and feel uncomfortable. I have to go to work in a while and won't be able to go home until tonight to update, so I'll update for today. This one is to make up for yesterday's update, and the next 3 updates tonight will be for today. There are only 2 updates left from yesterday when I feel better. In addition to the 8 updates I owed you before, I owe you 10 more updates. I feel so complicated. I'm sorry to keep you all waiting for so long. I understand how you feel. Thank you for your continued support. However, some of the swearing was too disturbing to my mood. After reading it, I angrily thought about updating twice a day, that way I would have saved manuscripts to update on time, but you would read less than a third every month, and I also thought about not updating anymore. Later, when I thought about it, I felt really sorry for the readers who understood me. Therefore, I still ban those who curse. This time I was ill and I was in a bad mood. I was also scolded for having poor character and lack of professional ethics. Therefore, the ban is basically permanent. If you want to lift the ban, please read the pinned post in the comment area. The requirements for unblocking are very simple. A 1,000-word long review is only 1/6 of my daily updates. If you can't do this, then don't say anything in my comment section that the author's parents have to update on time every day, no matter whether the author is sick, windy, or rainy at work. Just ban it forever. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xiaoweiniang. Chapter 812. Chapter 812, Breaking the Formation, Please Vote for Me. Classmate Li Xiaoli calmly watched her dial. After a while, classmate Xia Xiaoling put down her phone with an ugly expression. Brother bastard, there is no signal here. Did he do it on purpose? Xia Xiaoling gritted her teeth. With the financial resources of the Xia family, it is impossible that there is no signal in the mountains. The only reason is that someone deliberately blocked the signal. Li Lei smiled, with an expression like "look what I'm talking about." Xia Xiaoling's classmate was unhappy and pinched him again. "You're still laughing." "Okay, I won't laugh, haha." Li Xiaoli couldn't help it and laughed a few more times before trying to pretend to be serious. "You guys rest where you are and wait for me to explore the way ahead. Arnold, you protect me." Everyone. Arno nodded and said hello. Xiaoling asked worriedly, "You won't get lost, right?" Li Lei said, "Don't worry, I often run in the wild. I will mark it along the way. Even if I can't find the exit, it won't be difficult to return the same way." Xiaoling was relieved and watched him leave. Everyone waited for a moment, and Li Lei turned back and said, "This maze is not easy to solve. I have found some patterns, but it is still far from being solved." Xiaoling asked, "What should we do?" Among this group of people, the only one she could rely on was Li Lei. If Li Lei couldn't solve the maze, no one would be able to get out. Of course, they couldn't get out of the Xia family's territory. As for starving to death, Xia Moyan would definitely send someone to rescue him, but that would be a shame. Li Lei said, "I have a way." At the same time, on the observation deck halfway up the mountain, an old man and a young man were standing on the edge of the cliff looking down. The young man was dressed in white and asked the old man next to him, "Father, do you think they can come out?" The old man chuckled, "Mo Yan, don't be anxious, don't underestimate your future brother-in-law's strength." Xia Moyan snorted coldly from his nose, "Future brother-in-law? Strength? He just went out to explore the road and didn't even touch the door of the formation. Why didn't he go back in despair? What qualifications does he have to be my brother-in-law?" The old man smiled and said, "Your sister likes him, even if it is a piece of mud, you have no choice but to admit it." Xia Moyan snorted again, "Don't you also think that brat is not strong enough to be worthy of my sister?" "Father, don't forget what we said before, this time we must give that brat some color and let him know our Xia family is not that easy to climb up to." He was just unhappy that his sister ran away with someone so easily, so he tried to use various methods to torment Li Lei, and he had planned it long ago to make it difficult for Li Lei to pass the test of the Xia family's parents. The old man nodded and said, "That's natural. How can it be so easy to marry my Xia family's daughter?" He didn't mean to break up the marriage, but he felt that Xia Moyan was right. He couldn't let Li Lei get through so cheaply. Xia Moyan's expression relaxed a little. On the hillside, Xiaoling didn't know anything about the conversation between her brother and her father. She looked at Li Lei expectantly, "What can you do?" Li Lei took out his cell phone, "I'll make a call." "Xiaoling, I thought it was a good idea. Do you think the phone call can be made?" "I just tried it, but there is no signal." Li Xiaoli smiled treacherously, who said there is no signal? My mobile phone is an enhanced version. He lowered his head to take apart the mobile phone and fiddled with it a few times. Sure enough, he received a signal. It is the Li family's dedicated satellite channel. It has very strong penetration and cannot be blocked easily. Xiaoling finally gave in and heard him calling. Hello, Grandpa. I'm on the mountain road to the Xia family. The Xia family has set up a formation. I can't break it, so I still have to rely on you. Look at what you said. How can you treat me as a grandson? I have no choice but to do that, and I will be filial to you from now on. Besides, we can't let the Xia family look down on our Li family, right? He said a lot of good things with a sneer on his face. Xiaoling was speechless as she listened. She thought he might have some good ideas. How dare she ask Mr. Li? Can that old man do it? While they were thinking about it, they saw Li Lei gesturing for them to follow. She followed him doubtfully, hearing him describe the mountain topography to the old man along the way, stopping from time to time to observe something, and gradually, he really led everyone off the original track. Halfway up the mountain, Xiaomoyan and the old man also noticed their strange movements. We're almost at the formation, right? The old man nodded. This kid still has some abilities. Xiaomoyan was very dissatisfied. He is obviously calling to request foreign aid. What's so big about it? The old man smiled. The first thing he can break through the signal barrier is remarkable. The second thing is remarkable that he can invite helpers who can break the formation, and it is barely enough among young people. Xiaomoyan fiddled with a small signal monitor, listened for a while, and then snorted coldly. He is asking Li Shanhe for help. That old man treated Xiao Hui like that. He is a scumbag. Hearing what Xiaomoyan said, the old man also thought of the horrific treatment his grandson suffered, and his eyes became a little cold. However, after a moment, his expression returned to normal. That kid Li Lei has tried to seize Grandpa's position of power, and he can still get Grandpa's support. He is quite capable. Father, just praise him. Xiaomoyan was very dissatisfied. The old man smiled again. Okay, I know you don't like him. When they go up the mountain later, you can make things difficult for him as much as you want, but as a father, you won't interfere. How about it? Xiaomoyan looked gloomy. I want to embarrass him right now. How about making the formation more difficult? The Xia family has several peripheral Hushan formations, and today's confusion formation is already the simplest one. The old man shook his head. That old man Li Shanhe, his research on metaphysics is only superficial. The current formation alone is enough for him to rack his brains. If you increase the difficulty, they will be trapped in the mountain and never want to come out. Do you want Xiaoling to suffer from cold and hunger? Xia Mo was speechless for a long time, then snorted coldly. I gave him an advantage. Classmate Li Xiaoli, who escaped the disaster, finally got out of the maze under the guidance of his grandfather. Everyone cheered and collapsed on a huge stone. Xiaoling gasped and said, "Asshole brother, I will definitely give him a good scolding when I see him." Li Lei said, "No, if you scold him, he will definitely make me angry." He was still a little afraid of his brother-in-law, more than he was afraid of his wife. Xiaoling glared at him. Can you make some progress? Li Xiaoli suddenly had an idea. How about I kill him and cut his body into pieces? As long as I marry you, the Xia family cannot retaliate against the entire Li family or future generations. Xiaoling rolled her eyes at him and said, "You idiot." Li Lei came to her with a smile, hugged her petite body, and said mysteriously, "Don't worry, your brother won't be arrogant for a few more days. It's the last day of this month, please vote for me. Don't hold your votes." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 813. Chapter 813 Welcome the Phoenix Home. Xiaoling perked up and said, "Have you thought of a way to cure him?" Xia Moyan would definitely lament the misfortune of the Xia family to have such a sister with her elbows turned outward every day if she saw that cheerful look. Li Lei gave it a try, secret. Xiaoling was unhappy and turned away from him. Aunt Lu beat her legs and complained, "This mountain road is a dead end. Can we walk today? I have to take a good rest when we get there. Oh, my old arms and legs." Except for Yes father, who was obedient, no one listened to her complaints. Xiaoling asked Li Lei, "What should we do next?" They looked out into the lush mountain forest. The scenery was extremely beautiful, and they could hear the faint gurgling of water, as if they were in an emerald dream. Li Lei was immersed in looking at the map when he heard this and said, "Is this your home or mine? What's wrong with my family? I'm not allowed to know the road anymore," Xiaoling said proudly. Li Lei casually rubbed her head and said, "Be good." Then he immersed himself in looking at the map. Xiaoling got bored waiting, so she nudged up next to him and ruffled his short hair, having a great time. Xia Moyan looked at the platform halfway up the mountain with black streaks all over his head and gritted his teeth. "How dare you tease my sister?" The old man chuckled, "I asked you to send someone to pick her up earlier, and you said they would be anxious and want to watch their show. Now you see, right? When young lovers are together, they don't care how to get home." Xia Moyan. He took out his walkie-talkie and reluctantly gave the order, "Get ready to welcome the Phoenix back home." As soon as he finished speaking, lanterns were lit brightly and dimly in the mountains in the evening. The red lanterns were spread out one after another, depicting the shape of the phoenix's tail feathers, winding and spiraling upward, which was spectacular. "What is that?" Yes father noticed something was wrong first and asked in surprise. Xiaoling, Li Lei, and others then raised their heads and saw the gorgeous lanterns all over the mountains and plains. "It's so beautiful," Xiaoling admired. Li Lei smiled, "My father, mother, and brother are here to welcome you home." When things came to a close, Xiaoling was at a loss and hid behind Li Lei. "What should I do?" Li Lei said warmly, "Don't be afraid, just wait." In the green forest, there was a faint bright red light shining through. Two groups of people wearing plain blue robes were walking towards them with phoenix tail lanterns in their hands, with respect and unconcealable joy in their brows. A middle-aged man led by him walked to Li Lei and others and stood in front of them. With just one glance, he accurately recognized Xiaoling. "This is Miss Ling, right? Our phoenix." His tone was slightly trembling with excitement. Xiaoling was flattered. "Well, I am." The middle-aged man said repeatedly, "Great, great. The Xia family has been waiting for so many years, and the phoenix has finally returned home." He was the first to kneel down and kowtow to Xiaoling, "Welcome the phoenix back." The two groups of people behind him also knelt down towards Xiaoling, "Welcome the phoenix back." Their voices scattered in the mountains, arousing more echoes. It is not known how many people echoed these words. Far and near, there were cheers of "Welcome the Phoenix back" everywhere. Xiaoling was even more flattered, and unconsciously took Li Lei's hand. Behind her, Aunt Lu and Father Ye were so frightened that they didn't know how to react. They were just ordinary citizens. When had they ever seen such a battle? We were all frightened for a moment. Li Lei remained calm and composed, holding Xiaoling's hand gently. The firmness in his palm gave her strength. She took a deep breath and said as calmly as possible, "There is no need to do such a big salute. Get up quickly." The middle-aged man led everyone to kowtow to her again, and then stood up. With a smile on his face, he looked at Xiaoling and said, "How many years does it take for the Xia family to produce a phoenix? How many phoenixes does it take for one to reach nirvana? You bear so much karma from the family and have suffered so much. This great gift, worth it?" Xiaoling said, My family also takes care of me a lot. He asked again, where is my brother? And my father and mother, where are they? The middle-aged man said, the patriarch, my wife, and young master Mo Yan are all waiting for you at the heaven and earth palace on the top of the mountain. Please follow me. After saying that, he took the lead and walked up the mountain. Xiaoling and Li Lei looked at each other and followed. They learned along the way that this middle-aged man was the steward of the Xia family, his name was Xia Haikao, and he was ordered to welcome them into the mountain. The master and his wife were extremely happy when they heard that you were coming back. They had already ordered people to clean up the room and prepare the banquet. They are eagerly looking forward to it. Young Master Shaowai is also very happy. He keeps saying that he misses his parents so much. Xia Haikao was very talkative and looked at Li Lei with a smile. Is this young Master Shaowai's father? Uncle Haikao, just call me Li Lei. Li Lei was very polite to the Xia family. Xia Haikao smiled and said, Mr. Li is too flattering to me. I am just a servant, how dare I call you by your name? Even though my surname is Xia, I am just a distant relative who is lucky enough to work beside the clan elder. He can't be called an uncle. The Xia family has a huge family tree that stretches for thousands of years. It's common for distant branches to not know each other for a lifetime. It's really not easy to get relatives. Li Lei said, the person in front of our father is my uncle. Xia Haikao was startled, then laughed loudly, okay, for this courage, I will accept your uncle. What he was thinking in his heart was that this boy is really courageous, and he has not yet been recognized by the Xia family. It's my dad who's called me. No wonder young Master Mo Yan dislikes him so much. The thickness of his skin is really awe-inspiring. Xia Haikao was cheerful and liked this cheeky boy. Xiaoling secretly pinched Li Lei and whispered, is it you who calls you daddy or daddy? She is getting more and more uneasy as she gets closer to home, thinking about meeting her parents whom she has never met before. I was worried that I might not perform well in some way. How could I allow Li Lei to yell shamelessly? Li Lei smiled lazily, your dad must like me. Xiaoling, that's nonsense, my brother doesn't like you. Li Lei, your brother is a weirdo. Xiaoling, aren't you afraid that he will hear it? Li Lei, will you tell him? Madly Xia Xiao, who did not want to ignore him, this man, it is really no longer on the rogue. Behind them, Aunt Lu, who had been listening to their conversation, was dissatisfied again. Xiaoling, you are here to recognize your godfather and godmother this time, right? You haven't met anyone yet, so why are you shouting dad and mom? Go on. Don't forget, your father and I are still here. We're not dead yet. Xiaoling frowned and said coldly, there's so much nonsense. You said I talk a lot of nonsense. You, Aunt Lu jumped. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 814. Chapter 814, Rough Mountain Road. Before Xiaoling could speak, Xia Haikao on the side had already spoken, how dare you be disrespectful to Miss Ling? Aunt Lu frowned, Miss Ling, a little girl who crawled out of a common people's home, really thinks she is a rich lady. Xia Haikao looked at Xiaoling asking for permission, Miss Ling, do you want me to throw her down the mountain? Xiaoling was surprised, can you still throw it down the mountain? Xia Haikao said, if you throw it down the mountain, there will be no more noise. Xiaoling looked down at her feet. They were almost halfway up the mountain. If they were dropped from here, it would be covered in clouds and fog. Even if they didn't die, they would lose half of their lives. It's not good to kill people casually, she said. Xia Haikao said sincerely, it's really not good, but it's a different matter if you are the one who offended you. You are burdened with too much suffering. The Xia family wants to do something for you, and there is no need to bear too much divine punishment. The master and young master Mo Yan will find a way to settle things. He was eager to try and wanted to throw Aunt Lu away on the spot. Aunt Lu turned pale with fright. Don't come over here. Murder is against the law. Xia Haikao didn't even raise his eyelids. You're so deep in the mountains and forests, who knew I was the one who killed you? By then, the body would be devoured by wild beasts, and not even a drop of blood would be found. The tone was so sinister that Aunt Lu shuddered. It was only then that Aunt Lu realized she was afraid, and she said tremblingly, "Okay, good man, don't be like this. Can't we talk it over if we have something to say? Don't touch me, huh?" Xia Haikao said in a weird way, "My task is to protect Miss Ling. Whether I throw you down the mountain or not depends on how you treat Miss Ling. Instead of begging me, it's better to apologize to her." Aunt Lu was so frightened by him that she thought she wouldn't be able to find her body if she was thrown down the mountain. She could only hold back her anger and said to Xiaoling, "Xiaoling, look, I'm the one responsible for this. Are you kidding me? Don't take it personally. I've been kind to you even though I haven't been kind to you for so many years, right?" Xiaoling didn't buy it. "Do you have the kindness to raise me?" "Why not?" Aunt Liu's tone became louder again, but she glanced at Xia Haikao's unkind look and said, okay, it's my fault. I haven't raised you in these years, and I usually exploit you living expenses. I sent you to the training camp early. I don't care about you. I am stupid. I deserve to die." Xiaoling looked at her with a sneer. "Just one sentence of damnation and that's it?" Aunt Lu asked blankly, "Huh? What else?" She had been used to being arrogant in the neighborhood for most of her life. She had never apologized to anyone, and she didn't even know how to write the word sorry. Xiaoling taught her, "You have to be honest. When you meet my parents later, you are not allowed to rush into them. Just listen to what they say, you know? Otherwise, Uncle Haikao will have many opportunities to throw you down the mountain." Aunt Lu is now afraid of being thrown down the mountain to feed wild animals, so she nods her head repeatedly, "Enable, enable." Xiaoling was then satisfied and told Xia Haikao, "Let's go." A group of people continued on their way. Father Ye was hanging at the end of the team, supporting his wife and muttering in a low voice, "Why do you mess with Xiaoling when you have nothing to do? She is now rich and has such a bad temper. How can she be willing to listen to us? Let me see, this trip it's good if we can go back in one piece. Seriously, why did you agree to come here just for 30,000 yuan? You might risk your life." Aunt Lu didn't dare to get angry with Xiaoling, but she dared to get angry with her husband. After hearing this, she lowered her voice and said angrily, "What do you know? Wealth can be found in danger. Besides, I want the 30,000 yuan to pay back. Isn't it all for our family? Seeing that Fifa needs money to eat, buy clothes, and go to school. Or do you expect me to be than a rooster? If you work hard to earn some money, what hope does this family have?" The more she spoke, the more she felt aggrieved and felt that her life was miserable, and she gritted her teeth. Father Ye lowered his head after what she said. Thinking that he could not earn 30,000 yuan all year round, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of guilt towards his wife and Fifei, and he also blamed Xiaoling. "Really, if you have so much money and don't spend any of it on your family, what can you do with a few thousand yuan a month for living expenses? How unfilial." He made up his mind to find an opportunity to talk about Xiaoling. Xiaoling walked ahead to climb the mountain. The mountain road was rugged and she was so tired that her whole body hung on Lilei. "I can't walk anymore," she said coquettishly. Lilei stopped Xia Haikao in front of him. "Uncle Haikao, can we take a rest?" Xiaoling looked aggrieved, but she heard that her parents, whom she had never met before, were waiting for her. She was embarrassed to be too picky about it, so she could only say, "Keep going up, I can hold on." Lilei was very distressed. He walked to the front and squatted down. "Come up, I will carry you." Xiaoling was stunned for a moment. No need, I'm very tired. Lilei urged, come up quickly, don't keep our parents waiting. Besides, you're not heavy. Then, aren't you tired? Xia Xiaoling asked weakly. At this time, as a man, how could Lilei feel tired? He said easily, my physical strength is much better than yours, so this journey won't trouble me. Hurry up. If I change my mind, just climb slowly by yourself. Xia Xiaoling's classmate hurriedly grabbed his back. Lilei easily picked her up and praised her, that's so good. Xiaoling said, if you can't carry it, don't be brave, just put me down. Lilei sneered, who climbed up as soon as I said I wanted to change my mind. Xiaoling, you hate it? Classmate Li Xiaoli chuckled and strode forward with her on his back. Xia Haikao on the side looked at him and nodded secretly. He looked like a quasi-ant, and he could barely pass the exam. The master has already told me not to embarrass my uncle to be too much, but don't embarrass me at all. Anyone who wants to marry the phoenix of the Xia family must go through various assessments. He just deliberately didn't let the team stop to rest. Some families are happy and some are sad. Aunt Lu was jealous of the loving couple's affectionate appearance, and said angrily to Father Ye, I'm tired too. Father Ye looked at Lilei who was carrying Xiaoling on his back. He was very embarrassed. He was already out of breath from just walking that mountain road with his own physical strength, not to mention that his wife was much fatter than Xiaoling. He murmured, I'm tired, just hold on. Aunt Lu was so angry that she slapped him on the head hard, you loser. Yes, father lowered his head and did not dare to speak. The mountain road became steeper and steeper. After all, Lilei was carrying a person on his back, and he gradually started to sweat a little. Xiaoling put her hands around his chest, listening to his gradually heavier breathing, and couldn't bear to say, I'd better come down and walk. Last update of today, good night. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 815. Chapter 815 Who is your dad? Don't make trouble, Lilei said, we're almost there. Uncle Haikao, are you almost there? Xiaoling raised her voice and asked Xia Haikao. Xia Haikao looked at the young couple and said happily, there are at least 3 miles of land left. Xiaoling, Lilei, please let me down. Lilei, I can still carry it. I'll let you down when I can't carry it anymore. Just kidding, even Zhu knew it was a test when he looked at Xia Haikao. How could he dare to let Xiaoling down? When you visit your father-in-law's house for the first time, you must behave well. Otherwise, what should you do if your father-in-law refuses to marry your daughter to him in anger? No matter how painful and tiring it is, classmate Li Xiaoli can only endure it with tears. Xiaoling's 2 calves kicked randomly in mid-air as a protest, but in the end she couldn't resist Lilei, so she obediently let him carry her. The mountain road was long. Lilei walked slowly but steadily step by step. He still had time to joke with Xiaoling, daughter-in-law, is your husband handsome, mighty, or domineering? Xiaoling originally wanted to say, who is your wife? But seeing the faint stains of sweat on his body, 1,000 words turned into a soft hum. That's it, Li Xiaoli, I was dissatisfied. Xiaoling, then what else do you want? Classmate Li Xiaoli, I thought for a while, sing me a song. Xiaoling, aren't you childish? How old are you? You still listen to songs while walking. Lilei felt aggrieved, you have never sung specifically for me. It is true that she is a queen, but so many of the songs she sings are for others. At least she wrote a perfect dream song for Peizian in her previous life, but what about this life? There isn't even a song for the 2 of them. Lilei thought for a while, how about I sing a song for you? Xiaoling broke out in a cold sweat, don't, it's not like she had never heard Master Boss's singing voice, the kind that would make a group of singers from Tianyi run away after hearing it. It's okay if he usually sings, but now he's singing on the Xia family's territory? She still wants to be embarrassed. She said resignedly, "Okay, I'll sing it to you." After thinking about it, I chose a popular song in recent years. That year the branches were full of flowers, you stood on the small bridge and the water flowed empty. That year the swallows danced and the orioles flew, and you painted the Shimen ancient post like a drunken person. The flowers are so dazzling in midsummer that they cannot be more beautiful than your eyebrows. There are piles of Sichuan embroidery and brocade. If you look back and smile, 3,000 worlds will be reduced to ashes. The song is melodious, echoing on the somewhat dark mountain road, far and near, endlessly. In the mist in the forest, birds flew out and surrounded them in flocks. Everyone was immersed in her beautiful singing. Even Aunt Lu temporarily forgot her calculations and ridicule. The nearby tribesmen put down their work and talked to each other. "Look over there, do you see it? It's a phoenix, really. The phoenix is back. Only in the stories passed down by our ancestors can we see this kind of birds paying homage to the phoenix. It's really 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix." The tribesmen were all excited, but they didn't dare to make any noise. They were mesmerized by her singing, immersed in the wonderful music, and their hearts were filled with reverence for the phoenix. Li Lei was carrying Xiaoling on his back. As she sang, his steps gradually became brisk and he seemed less tired. He felt like he could walk another 10 miles. There was a faint sense of pride in his heart. Sure enough, his own Xiaoling was the best singer. She was the most perfect existence in the world. All the way up the mountain. At the top of the mountain, Li Lei put Xiaoling down. Xiaoling stopped singing and looked up at the courtyard not far away, shrouded in clouds and mist. The buildings with wood and stone structures, blue bricks and black tiles were magnificent and solemn, rolling along the mountains. At a rough glance, the scale was not small. Ancient buildings in any tourist area. On the plaque in front of the door, the simple words "Heaven and Earth Palace" are clearly visible. This is the residence of the clan leader and his wife, as well as young Master Mo Yan and young Master Xiao Hui. Xia Haikao told them, "Please follow me." Xiaoling glanced sideways at Li Lei, and Li Lei shook his hand gently. He held her hand and gave her a reassuring smile. He led her in and walked through the quiet front yard. Under the porch, someone hurriedly greeted her. The leader was an old man with gray hair, followed by a well-dressed woman, and next to him was Xia Mo Yan and Xia Wei. Xiaoling stopped. Almost instinctively, she realized who the old man was. "Daddy," she choked, calling out all at once. The old man's face was still calm at first, but after hearing this call, he could no longer hold it in. He quickly responded, "Xiaoling," and hurriedly walked down the steps. Xiaoling let go of Li Lei's hand, ran towards the old man, and hugged him tightly. Fellowship is so wonderful. Even if a lifetime passes, even if the father and daughter have never met, in the vast sea of people, for many years, they can accurately identify each other with just one look. A family united by the same spirit. "Dad." Xiaoling's voice was filled with tears. In her father's generous embrace, all the suffering and grievances she had suffered in her 2 lifetimes came to mind, as well as the longing for her family. "Good boy, my good boy." Patriarch Xia's voice was choked with sobs. The old man's eyes were red, as the old man, who had never changed his face even when Mount Tai collapsed in front of him, said, "My Ling, you have suffered so much. My father has finally waited for you." The 2 father and daughter were crying and laughing. Besides, the elegant woman also came forward and wiped her tears. "Xiaoling." Xiaoling left her father's arms, looked at the woman, cried again, and threw herself into her arms. "Mom." "Xiaoling." The woman also burst into tears and hugged her daughter tightly. The family that had been separated for decades was finally reunited. Patriarch Xia and his wife looked at Xiaoling from head to toe, but couldn't get enough of it. You are alone outside and don't know how to take good care of yourself. Look, why are you so thin? Mrs. Xia said to Xiaoling with pity. Xiaoling smiled shyly and told her not to worry, she was in good health. Mother and daughter started chatting about their daily routine without realizing it. Patriarch Xia, who couldn't say anything, turned his head and realized that there was a young man standing not far away. Are you Li Lei? His eyes narrowed slightly, like all father-in-laws looking at their future son-in-law. That way, you are always being picky. Li Lei's skin tensed up, fearing that he might be disrespectful at all, so he carefully answered, "It's me, Dad." "Who is your dad?" Like Xia Moyan when he was called brother for the first time, clan chief Xia also felt that this brat was too familiar with himself and did not regard him as an outsider. Li Lei bit the bullet, and he was not going to compromise on the issue of principle. Xiaoling's family is my family, and Xiaoling's father is my father. Clan chief Xia. Xia Moyan whispered from the side, "Father, have you seen this? This kid just needs a lesson." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 816. Chapter 816. Where is your moral integrity? The Xia clan leader was convinced that he had called his father before he had been tested and given a betrothal gift. Do you really think that his daughter of the Xia family was so easy to marry? No, you must be given a show of strength. Clan chief Xia coughed and put on his most dignified appearance, "Call me uncle." This means denying his son. Fortunately, Li Lei was thick-skinned and carefully smiled. People say that the son-in-law is the son-in-law, so why should the uncle see more people? Dad, I brought gifts for you, my mother, and my brother. A gift? Chief Xia was a little curious. What could this prospective son-in-law bring? Xia Moyan's face turned dark. Dad, don't be fooled by him. Li Lei saw that his brother-in-law was trying to do something bad, so he quickly said, "You will definitely like it. It is a chessboard made of 1,000-year-old agar wood, and chess pieces made of black jade and mutton fat white jade. By the way, there is also a broken chess record." He didn't wait for everyone. In response, he motioned to Arnold, who had been standing silently behind him, to take out the things. The big luggage bag that Arnold was carrying finally came into use at this time. He took out a set of exquisite chess equipment from it and handed it to Li Lei along with the remaining chess records. Li Lei took it and handed it to Xia respectfully. Patriarch. The patriarch took it and said with a calm expression, "The Xia family has so many gadgets like this, zinc residual chess records." Suddenly, he exclaimed, and even the hand holding the incomplete chess record was trembling slightly. Li Lei smiled. "This is the zinc broken chess score, an ancient chess score that only exists in legends in the Go world. The original score has long been weathered into ashes. The volume you have in your hand is the only reproduction volume, and there is no other copy in the world." No wonder, no wonder, Clan Chief Xia's wrinkled hand touched the yellowed sheepskin scroll. "No wonder I couldn't find it after searching for most of my life, and it's in your hands." Although Clan Chief Xia is a bad chess player, this did not stop him from loving chess and becoming obsessed with all kinds of incomplete chess records. Not far away, Xiao Shaowai looked at the scene and quietly gave his father a thumbs up. His father had long asked him what his grandfather liked. He told his father that his grandfather liked all kinds of incomplete chess records the most. Among them was a volume called Galaxy, which was said to be an ancient relic and could not be found after many years of searching. If he could find him, his grandfather would definitely be impressed by him. Huang Tian lives up to his perseverance. Li Lei mobilized various channels, used both kindness and power, and finally found this unprecedented chess record. Seeing that Chief Xia was overjoyed, Li Lei was also very happy. Dad, this kind of treasure is a rare treasure in my hands. It should be matched with you. Only with your chess skills and insight can I reproduce its brilliance. Good, good, good. Chief Xia was so happy that he said 3 good words in a row. Xia Moyan couldn't stand it anymore. His father was a lousy chess player. He was a bad chess player and often acted like a rogue. What this kind of treasure should be worthy of you? Li Lei, do you feel guilty for flattering me like this? He couldn't help it and said, how do you know the level of my father's chess skills? Li Lei looked at them innocently, of course I know. When Xiao Hui came down the mountain, he kept talking in my ears every day about how great my grandfather's chess skills were. In my heart, Dad is the top master. His expression was extremely sincere and honest. Xia Moyan felt that this man was worthy of running an entertainment company. He was more of an actor than an actor. He was so flattered that he almost vomited. He glanced at Xiao Shaowai calmly and said, okay, little guy, follow your mother's example and turn your elbows outward. Let's see how I can educate you when I get back. Xiao Shaowai was so cold that his uncle looked at him. Oh, 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 Daddy, if you want to flatter your grandfather, don't take advantage of me. It's okay now. My uncle hates me. I will have a very hard time in the future, no? Woo woo woo. He was extremely wronged. Everyone else was a son cheating on his father. How come he was a father cheating on his son? Chief Xia read and reread the canned chess score. He was excited and delighted, and couldn't put it down. Xia Moyan called with a cold face, Dad. The patriarch did not respond. Xia Moyan emphasized his tone, Dad. The patriarch finally came to his senses, and when he saw his son's usually calm face, he realized that something was wrong. Oops, how could I be bribed so easily by the sugar-coated bullets of that brat from the Li family? This also requires supporting and controlling my daughter. He cleared his throat, tried to regain his serious look, and said to Li Lei reservedly, it's rare for you to have such filial piety that you can even find the remaining zinc chess records. However, I don't like young people who are too impetuous. What's the point? It's too unconscionable for you to say that I am a master. Actually, everyone loves to hear flattery. The patriarch, who was said to be an extremely expert, was already happy. However, due to the pressure from his son, he still had to act unfavorably and make things difficult for his future son-in-law. Classmate Li Xiaoli's expression became more sincere and honest, and he said with conscience, to tell you the truth, Dad, I usually like to play chess, and I often play chess with Xiao Shaowai. Xiao Shaowai said that I was not as good at playing as you. At first, I was still not convinced, but later he reconstructed a game of chess played by you, the layout, and the trend, it was absolutely amazing. You, Dad, you are my idol. Xiao Shaowai. Xia Moyan. Clan Chief Xia was doubtful, really? Do you really admire my chess playing? Which game were you watching? Li Lei didn't even think about it, you are the one who started the robbery with the black man. Small flying and big flying, forcibly cutting a path, like a sudden glimpse of a giant, turning all living beings upside down, and like an antelope hanging its horns without a trace, it can be seen that I was so impressed, why didn't I think of it? I asked Xiao Shaowai to review it for me many times and I studied it for a long time. Clan Chief Xia recalled that he had actually played such a game. It seems that this kid is not lying, but really admires himself. What he said just now touched on his itch, and he burst out laughing, extremely proud, of course. My chess style is mysterious and indescribable. There are not many people in the world who know how to appreciate it. Come on, boy from the Li family, let me tell you, after the big flight, I had a clever trick. He pulled Li Lei and started talking non-stop. Li Lei listened attentively, with a look of admiration on his face, and even uttered praises from time to time. Xiao Shaowai silently covered his eyes. He remembered that he had restored a game of his grandfather's chess for his father, but it was under his father's coercion and inducement. With his 200 IQ and super memory, he finally managed to reconstruct his grandfather's game with all the mistakes and omissions. The chess game that has no logic and even the little silver fox at home can't stand is restored. He still remembered that his father looked at the chess game with a miserable look on his face. Is your grandpa at this level? I can beat him with my eyes closed. Also demonstrated 100 ways to kill my grandfather on the spot. Xiao Shaowai was convinced at first that he really admired his father. Why, as soon as I arrived at my grandfather's house, my father, You just started telling lies? Hello, Dad, where is your moral integrity? There will be another update tonight, it will be past 12 o'clock. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 817. Chapter 817 Adoption. Xiao Shaowai's mood is very complicated. Xia Moyan's mood was also very complicated. He had calculated everything, but he had not considered that Li Lei, a shameless person, would use Go to flatter his father. This, how should I put it? Flies don't bite seamless eggs. He looked at his father with a look of indifference. This old man must have defected before the battle, and the little guy Xiao Hui is not reliable either. To save his sister's happiness for the rest of her life, it seemed that he could only count on himself and his mother. He glanced at Mrs. Xia. Mrs. Xia was holding Xiaoling's hand affectionately and talking. The two of them had started talking about how difficult it is for a woman to work alone outside to the recent fashion trends in the fashion industry. As they chatted, Xiaoling thinking of something, he asked Arnold to hand over another thing in the travel bag. Mom, look at this satin. It is a craft that is about to be lost in Northern Europe. Li Lei specially asked someone to make it for you. Listen. You said you like gardenias, and you specifically ordered them to be dyed in this color. Really? It's so beautiful. This pattern and color are so special. I've never seen anything similar. Xiao Lei is really filial. Mrs. Xia's eyes lit up and she called Li Lei by his nickname. Xia Moyan couldn't bear to look directly at it. It was over, and his own mother had also fallen. Xiao Shaowai silently hid away from his uncle who was under pressure. Woo-hoo-hoo, his uncle's face looked really scary. Holding the newly acquired chess equipment and the remaining chess records, Chief Xia invited Li Lei into the inner room to discuss their chess skills. Mrs. Xia took Xiaoling's hand and walked in. Come, Mom will decorate the room for you. See if you like it. Xiaoling smiled and said, Mom's arrangements are all good. The mother and daughter also went in affectionately. Xiao Shaowai and Xia Moyan were left behind, looking at each other in silence. They seemed to have been forgotten. Xiao Hui ran to the luggage bag with his short legs and raised his head to look at Arnold. Uncle Arnold, have your parents prepared a gift for me? He asked expectantly. The sturdy man squatted down and said with a smile, Young master, of course. Both the young master and Miss Ye are thinking about you. He took out several things from the bag, including toy guns, toy cars, remote-controlled model airplanes, etc., which dazzled the little boy. Xiao Hui cheered, I know my parents are the best. Over there, Xia Moyan's expression became even colder. Xiao Shaowai quickly fell silent and looked at his uncle cautiously, like a child who had done something wrong. After a while, seeing that his uncle did not continue to be aggressive, he asked with a wink, Uncle Arnold, did Dad also bring a gift to Uncle? Arnold smiled, took out another thing from his luggage bag, stood up, and handed it to Xia Moyan respectfully. Master Imperial Master, I heard that you like to drink tea, so I went to the only remaining place in the world with my own hands. Please try the new leaves from a genuine old mountain white tea tree to see if they suit your taste. Xia Moyan took it, but his face didn't look better. Do these people think he is the same as those unreliable parents and the stupid kid Shea? He can't be bought with just a gift, huh? Chief Hikeo, take them to the guest room to rest, he ordered. Besides, Xia Hikeo, who was taking Xiaoling and others up the mountain, hurriedly responded and said to Arnold, Father Ye, and Aunt Lu, everyone, you have worked hard to come all the way, please come with me. Just now, Aunt Lu and Father Ye were a little stunned by the scene where the Xia family recognized their relatives. Aunt Liu's eyes were even more dazzled by the precious gifts taken out of the luggage bag. At this time, Aunt Lu, who had come back to her senses, stopped. I said, Arnold, your young master didn't prepare any gifts for me? Don't forget, Lao Ye and I are Xiaoling's real parents. Anyo said honestly, the young master is not prepared. Actually, Li Lei originally wanted to prepare. No matter what, the Ye family will be Xiaoling's parents in this life. But she was stopped by Xiaoling. She said, have I done little for them over the years? I haven't seen them treat me as family. They didn't tell me how many times they sold me. They even asked me for money when I came to Xia's house. Anyway, I have already given them 30,000 yuan this time. If it is converted into a meeting gift, it is not bad among their neighbors. You don't need to give more, so as to save them from getting addicted to asking for money, and it will be more natural in the future. She has taken over Ye Xingling's body, but she has repaid kindness with kindness in recent years and has received a lot of rewards, so she cannot let it go on forever. From now on, if the Ye family has major events such as birth, old age, illness, and death, she will of course help take care of them, but she is not a fool. She will not give in if it is obvious that she is being bullied or taken advantage of. Li Lei laughed at her because she was a little girl, and he will retaliate. She was so angry that she even bid him, what's wrong with me? I just want to retaliate. Li Lei comforted her for a long time. So, this time classmate Li Xiaoli obeyed his wife's instructions and prepared nothing for the Ye family. He also told Arnold that if the Ye family acted recklessly, don't be too polite. Hearing Arnold say no, Aunt Lu was very angry. What's going on? How come there is no more? You must be corrupt, right? Mr. Li loves my daughter so much that he won't prepare nothing for me. Arnold was secretly despised in his heart. Now he remembered that Miss Ye was her daughter. I have never seen this family treat Miss Ye as their daughter. But in his heart he was filled with contempt, and on the surface, his good upbringing kept him silent. On the side, Xia Hikeo couldn't see it and coughed lightly. There is something that I should take this opportunity to talk about. Mr. Ye, Ms. Lu, I invite you here this time not just to let Miss Ling recognize me as a godfather mom, I hope to adopt Miss Ling to the Xia family. From now on, Miss Ling will be the daughter of the Xia family and has nothing to do with the Ye family. What? Father Ye and Aunt Lu said in unison, shocked. Xia Hikeo was originally ordered to deal with this matter. At this time, he made up his mind to deal with the Ye family. In 3 days, the clan will hold a return ceremony for Miss Ling. By then, I hope the two of them can cooperate to complete the adoption. Don't even think about it, Aunt Lu was the first to refuse. You have a pretty good idea, huh? A group of people from a poor ravine thought they were great after being lucky enough to pick up Xiaoling's son? Are you going to fight with us? Is a big star like Jia Xiaoling getting married? What a dream! Let me tell you, that girl wants to break away from us, so go ahead and dream. Her spittle was about to hit Xia Hikeo's face. Xia Hikeo took out a white tissue and wiped his face without hesitation, and said, Ms. Lu, even if you object again, this matter will not change. Our Xia family does not want to commit murder, but this does not mean that we don't kill anyone. What do you mean? Aunt Lu was stunned. Xia Hikeo smiled slightly. Do you still remember the mountain road when we came here? I was able to throw you down the mountain without anyone noticing on the way. It is not impossible to do the same now. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 818. Chapter 818 The Most Expensive Rice. It was only then that Aunt Lou remembered that there was such a big life and death threat. Her face suddenly turned pale, fearing that these mountain people would do something impulsively. Father Yes' face was also ugly, and he stammered, "Brother Xia, Xia, what you are doing is unkind. How can you force our family to be separated? Xiaoling is my biological daughter anyway. I want to see her, I want to ask her why she is so unfilial. How could Xia Haikao allow him to lose his fortune?" He was very polite, but refused to give in. "I'm afraid Miss Ling won't have time to see you." Are you not bullying others?" Father Ye was anxious. Although he has never cared much about this daughter, and has not shown any fatherly love under Aunt Liu's encouragement for many years, after all, she is his biological daughter, and she is famous and promising. Suddenly, he wants to sever the relationship between father and daughter. He couldn't accept it. Aunt Liu's face was still pale, but she whispered, "Why is this girl nicer to outsiders than to her own father?" Her eyes unknowingly glanced at the big travel bag that Arnold was carrying, which was bulging with stuff. "There are also many gifts for the Xia clan members." "Grandpa Ye, Grandma Lu." Suddenly, a soft and waxy child's voice rang out. Everyone looked around and saw that Xiao Hui, who had already walked several steps, turned back and looked at the Ye family couple with a pair of watery eyes. Aunt Lu reacted for a moment before she realized that Grandma Lu was calling her. Was this naughty kid tired of living or something? "How dare you call yourself so old? Who are you calling?" she screamed and wanted to continue the attack, but suddenly she caught a glimpse of Xia Haikao's warning look not far away, and she couldn't help but shudder and shut her mouth. It was only then that Father Ye realized that there was another child present. He had no impression of Xiaoling's child. "The last time I saw it, it was 5 years ago when the baby was just born. The baby was thin, weak, a little sickly, and not very pleasing to the eye. Later, when he heard that the child was dead, he lamented for a few days but didn't take it seriously. At that time, it was when Chu Chen was threatening the Ye family and not letting them go to Xiaoling to cause trouble. I was filled with anger, and I vaguely felt that this was retribution. Even when Xiaoling was suffering from the pain of losing her son, he didn't even make a single comforting phone call. Later, I heard that Xiaoling had adopted a child." He heard Aunt Lu complain again, "My good parents and sister are so poor that they can't take the blame, and they haven't seen the Sang Mengxing show any concern, but they spent so much money to adopt a little who doesn't know where they came from. Why are you keeping it? Will you compete with us for property in the future?" The resentment in his heart was even heavier, and he was even less willing to care about the child. So, it was later revealed that the child was Xiaoling's biological child, and Yes' father ignored him out of habit. Now, when a living child stood in front of him, he remembered that this child was his little grandson, his biological grandson. She looked at him innocently and smiled with all her teeth, "So cute." Yes' father's heart almost melted, and he softened his voice unconsciously, "Are you Xiao Shaowai? I am your grandpa." Xiao Shaowai stretched out his white and tender little paws, "Hello, Grandpa Ye, have you brought me a gift?" "What?" The smile on Father Ye's face froze. He came here just because of Xiaoling's request and Aunt Liu's order to earn 30,000 yuan for running errands. How could he remember to bring gifts to his children? When Xiao Shaowai asked, his expression became embarrassed. Yes' father stretched out his hand nervously and groped all over his body. However, there was nothing except half a pack of crumpled cigarettes. "Grandpa will make it up for you next time." He felt so embarrassed that he had no choice but to say this. Xiao Shaowai looked disappointed and looked at Aunt Lu again, "Where is Granny Lu?" Aunt Lu snorted coldly, "Your mother is about to sever ties with our family, and you still want a gift. She originally thought that the child would cry after hearing this answer, and she had already planned to deal with the naughty children of her relatives. However, unexpectedly, Xiao Hui withdrew his hand and nodded seriously. Grandma Lu is right, only a family will remember to buy gifts for the whole family. One sentence made Yes Father's face turn blue and white. He suddenly realized that he really did not regard Xiaoling and her children as a family from the bottom of his heart. He always wanted to ask for something from them, but never remembered to give. Although they are biological father and daughter, the distance between them is so unfamiliar. Xia Haikao secretly gave the young master a big thumbs up in his heart, and then said, "Young master Xiaowai is right, you too, you haven't even prepared a gift for your child. Our Xia family has reason to doubt you are treating Miss Ling and young master Xiaowai harshly. Please stop resisting the adoption." Yes Father lowered his head like a that had been defeated in a fight. Aunt Lu was struggling. "You can't say this. The son doesn't think the family is poor, and the son doesn't think the mother is ugly. What's wrong with us is that we don't have money. Don't you have money here, too? How can you adopt Xiaoling?" Throughout the generations, the Xia family has believed in being natural and casual. Although they have accumulated astonishing wealth, they have never revealed it. Even the buildings where the clan lives are all ancient wooden structures with beautiful shapes that fit the landscape. At first glance, there is nothing surprising, and it is no wonder that Aunt Lu thought it was an ordinary mountain village. Xia Haikao smiled. Rich or not, young master Xiaowai was raised by the Xia family with hard work. Every year, the young master is given a lot of food, clothing, gifts, and education expenses. How about this? This money, too, if the title can be returned to the Xia family, the Xia family will never mention adoption again. Aunt Lu choked. Raising a child for 4 or 5 years is not a small expense even if an ordinary person's family is poor. Is it worth paying so much money for a stinky child? Her eyes were busy calculating. Yes Father mustered up the courage to ask, how much. He still couldn't bear to part with his daughter. How many generations of the Ye family can produce such a big star? I still expect her to honor her ancestors. Xia Haikao still smiled. It's not much. According to the standard of the young master who is the direct descendant of my family, all the food he eats after birth is grown at home and raised in the courtyard. I'm not very good at estimating it. I can only say that there was an unscrupulous boy a few years ago. The rice grown in the family is sold outside, and a kilogram can be sold for about 100,000 yuan. The Ye family couple took a breath of air. You're lying, Aunt Lu jumped. How can there be such expensive rice? Not just rice, vegetables, fruits, fish, and meat are all priceless. Young master Xiaowai has lived in the clan for 4 full years. You too can calculate how much it will cost, Xia Haikao said calmly. In fact, with the wealth of the Xia family, they can easily spend more than 20 billion to give Xiaoling pocket money. This little rice and food are really not expensive. They are all planted and grazed according to Feng Shui and the 5 elements, which is very particular. How many people in the outside world hold a lot of money just to get some rice from the Xia family? In the eyes of ordinary people, that is a sky-high price. Aunt Lu shook her head. I don't believe it. You must be making things difficult for us. It's a rare weekend. I slept for a day to recuperate. Just wait, there are 2 more updates tonight. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 819. Chapter 819, Meeting a Confidant. Xia Haikao reflected on it and felt that the example he gave was too profound. He reluctantly changed to an easy-to-understand one. When the young master was brought back, the clan leader personally gave him a longevity jade lock. It is an ancient jade from Lanshan that was passed down from the time of the Yellow Emperor. It is the most gentle and nurturing thing. You too can go find out how much it's worth. He thought for a while, but he really couldn't think of anything real gold or silver. The family simply didn't understand how valuable other things such as food, clothing, and education were. He had no choice but to sigh. The patriarch said that children can't bear too much wealth and will be overwhelmed, so I will save other gold and silver items first and give them away to the young master when he grows up. Aunt Lou sneered, I knew you were fooling me. What about Lanshan ancient jade? You can just walk into a jade shop on the street and buy a good one for a few dozen yuan. Don't think I'm ignorant. Xia Haikao sighed, this Aunt Lou has no experience to begin with. Xiao Shaowai glanced at the chief steward with sympathy, and in the end he had to take action on his own. Grandpa, yeah, Granny Lou, if you don't want me to adopt you, just give me 300,000 yuan. I studied at the circus. My grandfather and uncle paid 300,000 yuan for my tuition to train animals. Xia Haikao. Young master, do you dare to go further? Aunt Lou was doubtful, what about taming animals? It's like this, the little guy said seriously, I like small animals very much, so I wanted to learn how to tame animals, so my uncle hired a circus master for me. The uncle said that this is the master's ability to make a living, and he is afraid of teaching his apprentices. If the master starves to death, he will not pass it on easily, so he will charge 300,000 yuan. Aunt Lou finally believed it. She understood why the master taught his apprentice to starve to death. The tuition for this unique craft was usually very expensive. She felt a pain in her heart. What do you think is wrong with you, a prodigal child, learning something that you can't eat or drink? Do you want to be an animal trainer in the circus in the future? Xiao Shaowai looked troubled, what should I do? I have learned all the lessons. The tuition is too expensive, so my mother and I can only adopt others. Granny Lou, if you don't agree, just pay the tuition. Don't even think about it. Aunt Lou was very angry. Your mother has never given the family 300,000 in so many years, a full 300,000. The sum of her and yes father's savings over the years did not even amount to this amount. So, why don't we all get together and relax? Xia Haikao interrupted at the right time. You two don't want to spend money for your children and grandchildren, and you don't think you have enough money to honor your children and grandchildren, so why bother to hold on to each other? Everyone hates each other. Aunt Lou was speechless. Even if she was killed, she would not spend 300,000 yuan to recognize an unrelated child. Father Ye buried his head and pondered for a long time before he finally made up his mind and said, yes Yaozhong, are incompetent and cannot afford to raise my own daughters and grandchildren. The children's wings have become stiff and they want to fly away, so let them go. But he raised his head and looked at Xia Haikao, I have a condition. What conditions? Xia Haikao asked calmly. Father Ye said, although Xiao Ling was adopted by the Xia family, she is still my flesh and blood, with broken bones and tendons, and my blood flowing on her body. She can't forget her roots. In the future, if something happens to the Ye family, she don't care. When Xia Haikao heard this condition, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Don't worry, the Ye family will take care of births, old age, illness, death, weddings, and funerals, even if Miss Ling doesn't take care of them. I'll write you a phone call later. If anything happens in the future, just call me. Father Ye was reluctantly relieved, and went to the guest room to settle down with Aunt Lou glumly. Xia Haikao completed his mission and went to find Chief Xia to return to his hometown. Passing through the Nanmu corridor that was almost integrated with the mountain forest, he knocked on the door of a small room at the end of the corridor. In the small room, the fragrance of tea lingers, the windows with exquisitely carved patterns are half open, the autumn night breeze blows slowly on the bamboo mat, and the chirping of insects is heard. He saw Patriarch Xia and Li Lei sitting cross-legged facing each other, each holding a chess piece and fighting in full swing. Patriarch Xia's cheerful voice came, "Boy of the Li family, what do you think of my move? Double calamity. He, you didn't expect that I could eat your big dragon right away." Li Lei seemed to be very involved and slapped his thigh. "Wonderful. Dad, your move is so wonderful. Why didn't I think of it? This is trouble." Chief Xia burst out laughing. Li Lei thought for a moment, then suddenly slapped his thigh again. "Yes. If I go like this, you see, you can't eat me like this." Chief Xia took a closer look. "What a boy. You really have some skills. But have you forgotten the few chess pieces here? If you move like this, the dragon will be saved, and this piece of territory will be given to me." "Hey," the old man laughed and took a large piece of Li Lei's territory without any ceremony. Li Lei looked annoyed. "You are still the best. No matter how hard it is, I still can't escape your magical plan. Dad, you are really a master. What Xiao Xiaowai told me was right, it's so awesome." Chief Xia's face was filled with contentment, and he smiled even more cheerfully. Steward Xia Haikao stood by the door and watched for a while, admiring the prospective uncle's ability to flatter him. How could he be inferior to the patriarch? It is clear that every step has been carefully calculated, deliberately allowing the clan elder to win the game, and winning will not be too fake or too easy, giving him a sense of accomplishment. "How long has it been since you saw the patriarch laughing like this?" On weekdays, the clan elder is always very wise and kind. Although when playing chess, he slaps the table and glares like an old child, but that is probably because he regrets not succeeding in the chess game and is angry with young Master Moyen. "This is probably the first time that I am as excited about winning chess as I am now." Xia Haikao felt somewhat relieved. He suddenly felt that Miss Ling was right to find this uncle. The Xia family wanted money and power. What was missing? Just a considerate heart. And this Mr. Li is so considerate to the clan elders, and he must be even more considerate to Miss Ling. They will be happy. Xia Haikao knocked on the open door of the small room. The two players in the game turn around. Chief Xia said with a smile, "It's Hai Chao. Come and take a look. I've never encountered such a well-matched opponent. The boy from the Li family has talent. He has talent." Xia Haikao complained silently in his heart, "That's because I lost to you on purpose." On the surface, he said respectfully, "Sir, the Ye family has agreed to Miss Ling's adoption. I have arranged for someone to explain the Phoenix return ceremony process to them. There should be no problem in the adoption process." Chief Xia agreed and asked him to stay here to watch them play chess. Xia Haikao didn't want to watch such a miserable chess game, so he quickly found an excuse and ran away. "As you can see, none of them are willing to accompany me," the old man. "It's really boring." Chief Xia shook his head and sighed. "Come on, let's continue." Li Lei laughed and said, "How do they understand the secrets of your chess game?" "Dad, when Xiao Ling and I get married, I will come and play chess with you every day." "Okay," the patriarch responded cheerfully, "when you get married." Suddenly, his voice stopped, and he laughed and scolded, "Young boy from the Li family, okay, you are trying to trick me. Who promised you to get married?" End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 820. Chapter 820. I am here, and she is here. It was so dangerous that he almost sold his daughter. "No more, no more," Chief Xia pushed the chessboard, "if you continue, you will be plotted by your kid." Li Lei smiled shamelessly, "Look at what you said, you are so wise and wise, how can you do this? Dad, please marry Xiao Ling to me. She and I are in love, and we are a perfect match." Chief Xia shook his head and said, "If I gave her to you easily, your mother and your brother could break me up, pack her up separately, and bury her in the fields as fertilizer. Your mother and your brother. So, Chief Xia recognized his prospective son-in-law. Although he has not yet agreed to their marriage, classmate Li Xiaoliai is already very happy to admit that he is one of his family members. It seems that this move was not in vain. He said to Patriarch Xia diligently, "It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Whether we are married or not, I will play chess with you." Okay, Chief Xia became happy again, let's play another round. The black and white chess pieces returned to their respective formations. Although Chief Xia's chess skills were poor, he prided himself on being a master, so Li Lei took the white piece and moved first. Li Lei pretended to think deeply, but in fact he casually said, "Dad, it's your turn." Heze, the leader of the Xia clan, followed. The two had been fighting for several games and were already familiar with each other. Chief Xia asked casually while playing chess, "Boy from the Li family, tell me about Xiao Ling's past. How did you meet?" After so many years, he has not been able to accompany Xia Ling's growth has always been a great regret for Patriarch Xia as a father. Li Lei dropped his voice and said, "I fell in love with her, at first sight." Li Lei's voice became very soft when he mentioned his beloved woman. At that time, she had just been reborn from Nirvana. She looked silly, no, cute, and very. "What is it?" Clan Chief Xia asked. "Very." Li Lei thought for a while, searching for the right words in his mind. "Very melancholy, no, not melancholy." At that time, her eyes were very cold, and her whole body exuded a feeling of not being near strangers. "Temperament, but I don't know why, I just feel that she is fragile, and I want to be close to her and protect her." Chief Xia narrowed his eyes and said in an unpredictable tone, "I heard that you only wanted to keep her as your lover." Li Lei smiled awkwardly. He didn't expect that good things don't go out, and bad things spread thousands of miles. He obviously did that thing very low-key, but, that's right. With the strength of the Xia family, how could it not be found out? He said, "Dad, please listen to my explanation." "Men, he. Besides, I was led astray by those gangsters I used to be." Chief Xia asked, "Really?" "It's absolutely true. It's more real than real gold," Li Xiaoliai vowed. "If I hadn't been influenced by those gang of friends, how could I have done such a thing? Look at the one named Jin Yifei, oh, and Du Yunfan, all of them they hug each other now, and I change women faster than I change clothes. As for me, I haven't fooled around with them since I met Xiao Ling. When I go back this time, I will teach them to change their ways." Thousands of miles away, young Master Du and young Master Jin both sneezed inexplicably. Clan Chief Xia admired Li Lei more than anything else. He was unambiguous when it came to his daughter, "Don't play rough and tumble with me. Tell me, why did you plan to pursue Xiao Ling in a serious way later on?" Li Lei said, "Because I can't get a lover." "Oh no, 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 Dad, don't be angry, I mean, because I later discovered that she is really a very good girl, worthy of my pursuit with all my heart. I'm even willing to give her my life, so what's the point? As long as she wants it, as long as I can do it, everything is hers." Clan Chief Xia nodded slowly. Although this boy was a little cunning, he was really sincere towards Xiao Ling. They have gone through so many twists and turns and tests together, and their fates have long been integrated and they have become indistinguishable from each other. "Phoenix flies in the sky," Patriarch Xia suddenly said. Li Lei looked at him without knowing what was going on. Chief Xia said, "The wind soars above the 9 heavens. It is gorgeous and arrogant. In other words, it is too eye-catching. Do you know why Xiao Ling was not able to stay with Pei Xian until the end of her life?" Li Lei shook his head. Chief Xia said, "Because Pei Xian is a dragon and flies in the sky. Together, they can only live in legends and in the eyes of everyone. She can never land. Once she lands, she will die." "What is landing?" Li Lei asked. Chief Xia looked at him, Life, daily life, firewood, rice, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, and tea. Giving birth to a child while cheating on the certificate, fading the aura at the bottom of her career, attracting people's jealousy, too many, these are all in vain. Any one thing can destroy her. Lilei remained silent. How could a person's life be all glory but no success? Once the phoenix takes off, it cannot land. Patriarch Xia picked up a chess piece and dropped it slowly on the chessboard. Actually, I am very grateful to Pei Xian for protecting her for more than 10 years and allowing her to grow up enough to be reborn. Did Mo Yan tell you that Xiao Ling is the only one among the many phoenixes in the Xia family that has successfully achieved nirvana? There are too many phoenixes that have no strength to continue flying before they grow up. Meeting Pei Xian is a blessing for Xiao Ling. Lilei's voice was a little bitter. I always thought that he was her calamity. Yes, and no, Patriarch Xia said inscrutably, every relationship has its causes and consequences. Young man of the Li family, cherish your relationship with Xiao Ling. The wind soars above the 9 heavens. If you don't live on a tree, you can't live there. The only one who can let her down to rest is you, and you have to protect her. Otherwise, maybe one day, she won't be able to resist the temptation of the sky and fly away with the dragon. Lilei raised his eyes. You said that she can't fall to the ground when they are together. Only I can give her happiness. Patriarch Xia said, who knows? In her last life, she flew for 16 years before she died. In this life, she will be freer and stronger after nirvana. Maybe she can fly for 20 years? 50 years? 100 years? Young man of the Li family, don't think it's safe to have a beauty in your arms. You have to be good to Xiao Ling, you know. Lilei nodded cautiously and promised, I am here, and she is here. Clan Chief Xia smiled happily again, and the two continued to play chess. Over there, Mrs. Xia took Xiao Ling to the room that she had specially tidied up. The room was clean, hung with crystal curtains, and the silk satin bedding had a faint floral fragrance. Mrs. Xia smiled and said to her, from the first time I saw you in the news photos, I felt that you are suitable for such a room. It has been waiting for its owner all these years. I like it very much, thank you Mom. Xiao Ling wasn't lying. Mother and daughter have surprisingly similar tastes. They chatted easily and casually, talking about their respective experiences over the years, and they were worthy of being mother and daughter. There was no barrier between them. They chatted, sometimes cried, and sometimes laughed, and lost track of time. Xiao Shaowai didn't know when he opened the door and came in, Mom, Grandma. The child climbed onto Xiao Ling's knees on both hands and feet. End of this chapter.